Hello, this is my analysis of Alfred Lord Tennyson's epic poem, The Charge of the Light Brigade. So just like all my other poems, I'm going to answer all this one. I'm going to go through each of the key poetic choices the writer has made. There is so much you could say about this poem, but I've narrowed it down just to a few key points just to get you through your English literature exam. So, Charge of the Light Brigade is about a famous battle in the Crimean War where basically 600 cavalry soldiers, which are soldiers that ride horses into battle, are asked to go into this battle against the Russian cannons. Now they knew this was suicide, they knew that they were not going to come back out of this because a cannon is clearly going to make short work out of a horse with a man on it, but they still did it without complaint. So Tennyson is demonstrating the importance of loyalty and duty in conflict and the honour and glory that comes with it, because they will be remembered and they will be honoured even in death. So what power and confidence is shown? They show the power of duty, the power of loyalty, the power of honour, but also the power of memory, because we always remember these soldiers. And there's that clear conflict between the machines, the Russian cannons, but also the conflict with the animals and the humans, because the soldiers are just men on horses. So, Tennyson's key messages are that to die in war is to die a national hero. You'll be remembered with honour and glory. And basically, this poem is really famous because he paints a picture of what a good war hero would look like. It's someone who gladly sacrifices themselves for the greater cause, and no matter the impossibility of the task, they have faith in their leaders, they stay loyal to their colleagues and friends, and they never challenge instruction. So now let's get on to our analysis of this poem. First of all, our techniques. This first one where he says, into the valley of death, and he uses this reference to the valley of death all the way through this poem. Now this is a metaphor that shows that the destruction was total, there was no escape, it was an entire valley of death. But it's also a biblical reference to Psalm 23, which talks about the valley of the shadow of death in the Bible. And I think that the fact he's likening these soldiers to something biblical underlines how they are admired and remembered, and their choices serve as a lesson to us all, just like the Christian teachings of the Bible. Then he uses this personification later on. He adapts valley of death to jaws of death and the mouth of hell, which reflects the inferiority and weakness of the cavalry, because just like food in their mouth, they're just munched up and consumed by the Russians. What goes in jaws and mouths never comes back, therefore reflecting how they knew this was suicide, they were never going to come back out again. However, what goes in jaws and mouths is also a necessity for survival, so therefore these soldiers were a sacrifice that was needed for the greater victory. Now, it's really carefully structured, this poem. There are 6 distinct stanzas which chart the key elements of the battle, from the build up to it, to the decision being made, to the charge, to the fleeing, to afterwards and their remembrance. This gives it a military-like order and structure, reflecting that it is the army and their needs that have come first and not the suffering of these soldiers. However, there is also this heavy repetition throughout, which suggests to me an inescapability of their duty. They have to face it, and they do so again and again. There's no getting away from what they need to do, and it keeps returning because it's something they have to do. But for me, it also echoes that this is happening to every soldier and every horse, and I think Tennyson is layering up the repetition to echo the sound of the horses and the soldiers all making the same decision, all rushing to meet their duty. The fact he's got cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon in front of them specifically demonstrates how total and complete that annihilation there was, because there was cannons all around them. They simply didn't stand a chance. Now, words. First word I'd pick up on is this verb flashed, which connotes the speed, indicating how quick and skillfully the Light Brigade are using their swords, but obviously this is quite futile in the face of Russian cannons. But it also serves as a metaphor to represent the soldiers, because their bravery and their honour has made them bright and special and stand out, but it's also been quite short-lived because they've been killed quite brutally, quite quickly. I'd also go to this imperative at the end, where it demands the reader honour the charge they made, honour the Light Brigade. So the fact he's commanding them to remember the soldiers and honour them for their sacrifice, but not mentioning the decision made to send them there, shows that it is far more important to remember the lost lives and lost soldiers when it comes to reminiscing about conflict. Conflict is about human loss, not about the choices and decisions that were made to get them there. They honoured their country, their sacrifice, and now we must honour them. Key bit of alliteration is this one, sabre stroke, shattered and sundered, which is this sibilant S sounds. Now this echoes the sound of the swords clashing in the frenzy of battle, so it echoes how fiercely the soldiers fought. But it also echoes how futile their efforts were, because no matter how much they are shattering and sundering their sabres, they're doing it against Russians. They are never going to survive. I'll zoom in on that alliteration a little bit further and look at the verb choice of the verb shattered. Shatter is when it is destroyed without a chance being put back together. So these soldiers are being headed to their complete and utter annihilation, and there's no way they're going to come back out of it alive. But also only fragile things shatter, and I think this is a key point Tennyson's making. He's not dismissing the importance of these soldiers' lives. In fact, he's doing quite the opposite. He's showing they are special, they are important. When one of them dies, it's like they're shattering, but their duty and their responsibility to die is far more important than their lives. Finally, the key feature of this poem is its rhythm and rhyme. It uses a dactylic rhythm, which basically means it's a stressed sound to an unstressed sound, and you can hear this particularly right from the very first line, half a league, half a league. It goes from stressed to unstressed, back to stressed to unstressed. For me, this echoes the sounds of the horses rushing into battle, because a horse gallop goes quite stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed. Tennyson glorifies the attack by allowing us to hear it as well as to see it. But this also makes it quite a quick poem, demonstrating the pace and ease of the Light Brigade in their attack, but also the ease at which the Russians destroyed them. This dactylic rhythm goes all the way through in the build up to the battle, the battle, and then after the battle, showing the whole process, the whole event was over very, very quickly. Establishing this at the start of the poem indicates there was no hesitation or doubt. It was instinctive of the soldiers to rush into battle. If we'd come into this poem and it hadn't been dactylic rhythm to start off with, it would have been slower, it would have been more ploddy, it would have suggested that the soldiers were making a decision what they wanted to do. But the fact it plummets us straight into this quick, vibrant rhythm suggests they've already made their decision. It's impulsive and instinctive to sacrifice themselves for the greater glory of their country.